It's day 322. It's also March 23rd, 2020, and we are in Kiowa, Oklahoma. You ever wake up in the morning and ask yourself, what am I doing? And more importantly, why? Yeah, me too. Hi, my name's Craig, and this is my story. A story about life. Life out there. For visuals while listening, search Life Out There on your favorite social media platform or use the links in the podcast description. And here we are, parked on a hillside just above the high school that Reba went to, in Kiowa, Oklahoma. Dougie and I had already been out for a walk. Billie ran around with us a bit too. And as we walked, I looked off into the southeast there, knowing Chalky, that little ranching community, was out there, and the 8,000-acre cattle ranch that Reba grew up on. I'd hoped to drive out past it, but this dang pandemic is shutting everything down, and I doubt seriously that any of the few businesses in the area are even open. It's pretty quiet here in Kiowa. And I kept remembering, back in 2001, that contest I won that put me on a plane and on the set of the Reba show for 3 days. It was pretty cool being up close and watching the cast and crew of a sitcom work and getting to meet Reba in person. So fun.
I'm on the plane going to LA. No, I'm not kidding. I'm going to meet Reba because CMT got me in with the band. It's way cool. All right, here I am, Sony Studio, stage 24, where they tape the Reba show.
Well, let's go meet Reba.
How do you tell the difference between backwards and forwards, though?
I don't know, Craig. How do you tell the difference between backwards and forwards?
I can't believe everyone in this building is so calm. Are they actually aware of the fact that Reba McEntire is in the building?
When fans call in for an autograph picture, ready? Well, let's start with the boss.
That's not how you spell Reba.
Yeah. It is too. Craig, this is Chris.
Oh, hey, Chris. How you doing?
Craig. He's from
He
Seattle.
looks familiar.
Craig, this is Mitch. Mitch, that's
Hey,
Mitch.
There's another cast member, Mitch, here.
Good to see you.
This is the most polite young man you'll ever meet in your life.
If you can't talk and work at the same time, just work, Melissa.
I'm chewing gum too.
Oh my God! This is your big payday for doing all the gopher work for us.
I get to interview her now?
You excited? You get to interview her.
Oh, yeah.
You excited?
Reba. Room of her television series.
Guy came down all the way from Seattle. He's scared as hell.
Oh no!
Oh, I'm not nervous at all.
Right over here, Reba.
Oh my goodness.
I get a hug. Oh, you're a sweetheart.
Yes, you do.
You're all the way from Seattle?
Oh, yes.
Well, have a seat.
You guys, this is me right here with Reba McEntire.
We're together.
We're together.
Oh, so ask me anything you want to ask me.
I just, how do you like LA?
Not that. Ask me anything else. I'm kidding. How do I like LA? I love it.
A lot different than Nashville or the same?
It is. It's totally different. I miss Nashville,
right. But
I'm really loving doing what I'm doing out here.
I can't believe it's like, okay, I'm actually interviewing you, yeah. Okay. What about, I was curious about where the idea of a sitcom came from and what made you want to do television.
3 or 4 years ago, I wanted to do a sitcom. And so we came out, wow. Narvel Blackstock, my husband, manager, and I, we came out and we had an idea of doing a show, everything that happens after I get off stage, everything behind the scenes. Well, nobody liked that idea, so they started pitching me their ideas. I didn't like their ideas, so we said, wasn't supposed to be, so we went home. And then a year ago, September, they sent me a script called Sally. And I fell in love with it because it had the great Southern humor, it was in Texas, and I went and read for it twice, and I got the part.
Wow.
But I thought it would be fun to do something different other than I've done movies, I've done stage work, I've written 2 books, and just to do something different, and I wanted to try it.
Where do all these ideas come from? I mean, you've tried everything, and I know as a fan, it just leaves us with, okay, what's she gonna do next? Whatever it is, it's gonna be great, but
Thanks.
Where do these things come from?
just out of the air. They had just come out of the air. I'm very, very lucky. I'm very blessed. God's given me some great opportunities, and I'm a firm believer that if you don't grab at those opportunities when they're there for you, that they'll go to somebody else that's really wanting to try it themselves.
Exactly.
So I grab it when I can.
Seize the moment.
Seize the moment.
Very cool. Do you feel like you handle life differently on a day-to-day basis since the events of 9/11?
Yeah. In 91, I lost some band members and a tour manager and 2 pilots in an airplane crash. So 9/11 just kind of reinforced what I'd learned back then. You've got to live every moment as if it is your last. Because right now we can be sitting here and the next second we could be gone. Or you could be gone or I could be gone. Right. And then you have to really treat each day. Tell the people you love them. If you have a grudge against somebody, get rid of it. If there's somebody that you've had an argument with for a long time and you were once buddies, fix it and resolve all that. Because I bet there's lots of people in New York City who are thinking the same thing.
That are wishing that they had done that.
I have a song called If I'd Only Known, and it's, boy, if I'd only known, I'd done this, I'd have done that. So don't make that song a reality and take care of anything that's unfinished.
It's good to know we all feel the same way, I think, and we look at it a lot the same way. What about musically? What's new down the road musically for you?
Do you do this professionally? You are very good.
I'm just looking at Reba McIntyre.
You're very good.
Thank you.
Music-wise, I've got a brand new single coming out. Kenny Rogers wrote a song years ago called...
I hadn't thought about that in forever. So fun. Maybe I'll put the full thing up in its own episode. I don't know. But Dougie and I were out for another walk when an elderly gentleman pulled up in his shiny white Lincoln and climbed out for his afternoon walk, a few laps around the baseball field down there. Tipping his cap in our direction, he greeted us. Good day for it, ain't it? I agreed, and I could not resist the urge to ask an obvious local, "Is this where Reba went to school?" "Yup," he replied, and he was happy to go on. He pointed at the schoolyard below us and explained that the original high school had been torn down and replaced with what we see today. "Clark and Jackie's place is just 8 miles or so south of town there," he pointed. He could obviously tell that I knew Clark and Jackie were Reba's parents. "You know," he went on, "Susie and Reba used to sing backup for Pake." Again, knowing I knew who Reba's brother and sisters were. He shifted his glance toward the school below us, continuing, "I can remember those kids used to pack 'em in here at the high school."
Get around me, boys, I've a story to tell about a friend of mine that you all know well. He's an old cowhand, he's known near and far. He goes by the name of John McIntyre.
Folks sure did like 'em. And we just lost Jackie, too. A few days back, he shook his head. I think the family's working on a memorial here in town somewhere, but hard to say with this virus thing, I suppose. He wished me well as he headed off down the hill for his walk, and I thought to myself, how cool is it? Or maybe it's just small-town America, period. That this gentleman was on a first-name basis with the entire McIntyre family. It's a simple thing, I know. But business as usual, it seems, in Kiowa. And it was not until several minutes later when I was struck by the embarrassment of realizing that I had not introduced myself, or even asked the gentleman's name. But then I thought, these folks in Kiowa, they probably put up with us nosy sorts all the time. And he just wanted his afternoon walk. It was nice of him to take the time. And as I began writing this down, I started thinking about other Oklahomans. Exiting Highway 40 west to head south into McAllister, we'd passed through Chakotah, marked with a sign reminding any passerby that Carrie Underwood once called Chakotah home. And then I checked a map to verify that Ada, Oklahoma, was just about 110 miles to the north, the town that gave us Blake Shelton. And then there's the #1 selling solo artist of all time, Garth Brooks, born just 91 miles north of here, near Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it was a fun observation that 4 of the most prominent names in country music, spanning 2 generations, all came to us from a 100-mile radius in the heart of Oklahoma. And looking back over the pictures I'd taken today, and remembering that 2-hour detour, the sign actually read Vian and Tenkiller State Park and Reservoir. And with a name like Tenkiller, you gotta go look, right? Driving through Vian and around the lake, admiring the views and the lakefront homes, stopping here and there for photos, we ran into a park ranger named Jesse. He was out checking on campers to ensure they were aware of the pandemic and taking the appropriate safety precautions. He was gracious enough to take the time to explain that the area was named for the Tenkiller family, a prominent Cherokee family in the area. They owned the land and provided ferry services along the Illinois River until 1947, when they sold the land to the state for the installation of the dam that would be named in their honor. The dam and the reservoir it created enabled the state to provide flood control to the area, along with hydroelectric power for the surrounding communities. And it's pretty cool that included in the deal a pretty awesome and popular recreation area, tucked away here in the foothills of the Ozark Mountains. Jesse also explained that local legend has it that the Tenkiller family of fierce Cherokee warriors were named by U.S. troops upon observing the 10 notches in the chief's bow. And like so many places we've been, Oklahoma contributes some pretty stellar examples of small-town America. Dougie and I took our last walk of the evening gazing off into the mountains around Kiowa, wondering what it must be like to grow up here on a working cattle ranch, in a town where everyone knows your name, famous or not. A town founded in 1881 in the Indian Territory, originally part of the Choctaw Nation, and named after that Kiowa Hill over there. And it really is all about ranching and farming, always has been, and rural around here might be a bit of an understatement. A map says folks in Kiowa, if they need more than the 600 or so folks around here can provide, well, they gotta drive a little. 15 miles or so, and that'll get you to a place called Pittsburgh, population 7,000. 25 miles, McAllister, and the 18,000 folks there. But even a 60 or 80-mile drive, places like Ada and Durant, still nothing bigger than 18,000. But I guess if your life is ranching and farming, you probably do just fine that way. How often, really, would you need to or want to drive over 100 miles and land yourself in a place like Tulsa or Oklahoma City and the hundreds of thousands that live there, when you have all this right here? And then one more click, and randomly, I'd learn of an archaeological find. The Heavener Runestone, 110 miles or so from where we are. A large sandstone slab found in a deep ravine near Heavener, Oklahoma. It bears the runic inscriptions of what some believe were carved by Norse explorers, Vikings. And its presence could tell us that Vikings were kicking about these parts centuries before any European explorers made their way here. And the Vikings didn't stop here. Other archaeological finds have them as far north as North Dakota and Connecticut. I wondered why I had not read of Viking presence until now, especially given that they'd been here rubbing elbows with the Native Americans, the Caddo, Wichita, Osage, long before, way before Spanish, French, or British guys. But from what I can tell, mainly because the Vikings were more passing through, little interest in permanent settlement, making evidence of their presence pretty random. Not to mention that their presence in the area could have been as far back as 1000 CE. Over 500 years before documentation of Spanish or French arrival, meaning that any artifacts or traces left? Hard to come by, given record-keeping of the time. The Europeans had that record-keeping stuff pretty dialed in by the time they stumbled onto the continent, so records of their presence, easier to find, better documented. And the whole possibility of Viking presence is still very much in debate throughout scientific and archaeological communities. Some argue that it is indeed authentic and provides documentation of their presence. Others believe that the artifacts could be the work of Scandinavian explorers and settlers, which was much later, after the European guys. Now, naturally, conjuring up images in my head of Vikings wandering through Kiowa over 1,000 years ago, what would that have looked like? Throughout history, Vikings have been portrayed as brutal warriors capable of horrific violence. But read a little further, they were also a lot of other things. They were peaceful settlers, farmers, a culture with strong societal beliefs and rules, capable of engaging in trade with different cultures. And it all made me wonder what happened here if and when Vikings trekked through and ran into those Native Americans. And it seems what little evidence there is kind of indicates that it could have been a bit of both. Likely peaceful trade practices with the occasional skirmish here and there. Who knows? I guess the vision of a peaceful trade versus brutal raids. Hollywood's got to make a buck, and war, that always sells. But putting all that away and getting ready to hit the sack, I did not need the internet to tell me that today's Kiowa is known for its friendly residents and their sense of community. Or they're just pretty awesome. A place you kind of feel like hanging around a bit. But I gotta get out of here in the morning, keep trekking west. And once again, not even sure where we'll sleep tomorrow. But I wonder what we'll learn there.
Turns out, this thing called life comes with a lot of rules. Maybe it's time to break a few. Because you can. No, seriously, you can.